G'day everyone, this is Andrew Price here from blenderguru.com, and in this video we're going to be smashing an iPhone. Something that I'm sure a lot of you have already done accidentally, but this time it's going to be deliberate. Now the inspiration for wanting to do a tutorial on this topic was that before the weekend I actually lost my phone. I went to the Hog's Breath Cafe with my girlfriend, and then when I got home I realized I didn't have it. I called up the cafe and asked them, and they said they couldn't find it. So now my phone wasn't an iPhone. It was in fact a cheap Nokia. It was nasty piece of crap, really. So I'd like to think that the person who stole the phone, upon realizing how crap it actually was, threw it down on the ground in a fit of anger, much like the dear old iPhone here. So, for this tutorial, things we're going to be learning, modeling. So we're going to be modeling this iPhone right here. We're going to be applying some materials, giving it a cracked texture, this thing right here. On top of that, we're also going to be doing, getting into a little bit of particles, so to get that sort of glass shattering effect going everywhere. And then as well as that, we're also going to be doing a little bit of compositing as well. So, start by opening up a new scene in Blender. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is obviously model the iPhone. Now, as with all things, I find it's best to work off a reference image, which is particularly good because for the iPhone, it's very easy to find one directly on the Apple website. So if you just go to apple.com, click on iPhone, and then go to Gallery, and you can see we've got this perfect reference image here. So go ahead and save that, and I'm going to add it into the background of our scene here now. Just going iPhone smash gallery, perfect. So if you jump to the front view, you should now see the background image in place. I'm going to add a plane, and that's what we're actually going to be modeling it off. Okay, so I'm in the front view right now, and just not too narky about, you know, making it perfect. You just want to sort of line everything up as best you can. When I was first modeling it, I think I went a little bit overboard, and I added way too many vertices than there needed to be, and yeah, it just became harder and harder to use. So just put in as few loop cuts as you can. As you can see, I'm just pressing E and extruding these edges here like this. Making sure to put the loop cuts for the main elements. You can see I've put one at the top and the bottom of the button there, and the same for up here. Now to create a vertical loop cut, you need to hit Control R, like so. Hit Control R again, and place one there. And the cool thing about the design of the iPhone, I never realized it before, but this where that little ear sort of hole is, it lines up perfectly with the button underneath, and I'm sure that's not an accident. I'm pretty sure that would be their design team being pretty smart. Okay, so lining it up about there is pretty good, and I'm going to add another loop cut here for this little camera. And actually, before I continue, I'm going to save it because it's been crashing a bit lately, as usual. Pretty good. Alright, cool. So now I'm going to hit Control 2, and what that'll do is add in a subsurf modifier for me at level 2, so that's good. And as you can see, it's smoothed off these corners here, but it's not completely perfect. What I want to do is just get these two little vertices there and scale them inwards. And you can see it's given me the approximate, the correct shape. Okay, pretty good. One thing I might do is actually add a loop cut sort of about maybe there, pretty good. Just so that we've got sort of a loop cut there and a loop cut there. So you've got the same distance between from that corner to its next vertice as from here to that vertice. So just so that you get sort of an even edge there. So I might just scale that in a little bit more. That's pretty good. And down here is looking pretty good as well. Okay, awesome. Alright, so you got the basic shape of sort of the edge of the iPhone. What I'm going to do is take this little face here and extrude it inwards like so. And I'm going to do the same here, like so. Now this is going to be, of course, forming the hole for the earpiece, as well as the camera. Now to make it, see, you can see at the moment it's looking really sloppy and really nasty. If you press N and you go to median crease. If you increase the median crease, then you get a nice clean cut edge, which is very important. So I'm doing the same for the camera there, and I might do the same for the inside part there as well, like so. I might also actually give it Alright, I'm going to select these edges here just so that it's not round, because the actual shape of the earpiece is slightly more squarish than that. So I might just give that a 0.2, 0.4. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, so go ahead and save it. I'm now going to hit smooth shading. You can see we get this ugly looking result there. I might try and add an edge split. Yeah, that fixed it. Pretty good. Alright, now for the button down here. The button is actually fairly easy. I'm just going to select these 4 vertices here like this, and then scale it inwards to about there, and then scale it inwards again to about there. Now I'm going to grab these vertices here and then just drag them inwards like so. And I don't have an iPhone. Is it actually... I think it's a smooth button, isn't it? Like a... You don't have that sort of little bump there, do you? So I think... I think it should be a bit more smoother than that. Yeah, pretty good. Doesn't need to be exact. I mean, it's going to be smashed anyway. The attention's going to be drawn elsewhere, which is good. Alright, so... Yeah, it's looking pretty good, I'd say. I might, yeah, I'm going to add another loop cut just there, just so we don't have that messy, see how there's that ugly sort of looking artifact, you should call, I don't know what the word is, looks like a snail's just crawled up the iPhone. So just add a loop cut there, and you'll fix that problem. Alright, now, to give it sort of a more three-dimensional sort of look, what I'm going to do is just grab all the outside edges there. I selected them by holding down Alt, by the way. Alt and right click. You can select edge loops. Okay. And I've just scaled that backwards a little bit. Now, what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to be adding sort of like the chrome, sort of, you know, this part right here. So I'm just giving it just a little bit of thickness. Like so. Okay. Pretty good. It's alright. Alright, now, a little bit weird, but the front of the iPhone doesn't match up with our reference image. It's actually round the wrong way. Now, rather than flipping this, you know, mirroring it or whatever, it doesn't really matter. All I want to know is just the rough thickness. So, as you can see, I'm just using this reference image again. It really is perfect for what we need, like having Apple provide us with this nice reference image there. It's really, really handy. Alright, I might give the median crease... the outside crease there, just give it sort of a 0.5 median crease, just so it's a little bit tighter. I might just scale it up a little bit as well. Okay, pretty good. Alright, so now what we're going to be doing is adding that outside chrome edge here. Okay, now for the final image that we want to go for, we want to have it so that it's this is the finished result again. The chrome part is going to be all bent out of shape and everything, so we want to make sure we have a lot of control over you know, the modeling aspect of it. So I'm not going to just duplicate that and then sort of, you know, get the rough, you know, cut it down so it's the right chrome. What I'm going to do is start with a cube and then just model it completely by hand. So again, this is just so that we have a lot more control over how it looks. And this was just something I found worked a lot better than duplicating what we've already done. Okay, something like that's pretty good. Okay. Okay, so I'm just getting the rough sort of shape of it. Okay. Now, before we before we start forming, getting too complicated and forming too many shapes, I'm going to hit Control 2 just so we get a subsurface modifier going, so we can see what's happening. And what I'm going to do is extrude this top part here, rotate it by 45 degrees, and then extrude it again, and then rotate it by another 45. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, it says rotate 45. If you hold down Control, then you can get the exact sort of 5-degree increments, which is pretty handy. Alright, pretty good. Nice. Hopefully you guys aren't too bored already. Modeling can get a little bit tedious. I'm not a big fan of modeling myself, but as a 3D artist, I suppose it's inevitable. Cool. Alright. Now, as you can see up here, there's like a little cut. Now, like I said, I don't have an iPhone, but I never really noticed that little cut there. I know that there's that big daunting cut right there, which, you know, made the press go wild because it cut off 1% of all iPhone calls or whatever. Yeah, I didn't know that there was kind of like a little cut in the metal part at the top there. So, you know, I'm just going off the reference image here, but I'm going to put a cut there just so it's accurate. Now, to form the next part of it, so we've placed the cut there, I'm just pressing Shift D just to duplicate that, and then I'm going to start extruding. Now, it's giving this entire shape a meat increase of 1, so I'm going to turn it down and just give that meat increase like that. Okay, pretty good. Now, we're not actually going to be seeing too much of this side because the camera's actually going to be positioned over here, so you don't need to get too careful of this part. Just sort of, you know, get the rough shape of it like I'm doing here, and extrude it all the way down. Cool. Alright, so it's looking alright so far. We might need to add an edge split because we're getting again that weird sort of sludge look effect happening. So edge split right there is pretty good. Now the subsurf modifier is sort of shrinking it a little bit, so we need to pull it out a little bit just so it's a little bit more obvious. I'm going to add a loop cut here and another loop cut at the top there as well, just to tighten up that corner a little bit, like so. Now, next part, we need to add a loop cut here for where these volume buttons are going to be. So again, I'm just pressing Control R. Oh, I pressed Control T. Don't do that. Control R. Okay. Control R again. And Control R again. Okay, because what we're going to be doing is just forming a little shape there, and then we're just going to delete the faces so that we get a nice whole cut, kind of like a whole punch right there in the chrome. So the next part, what we need to do is hit Control R, but along the vertical aspect. I think that's the word to use. So I've just scrolling the mouse wheel, I've added 2 loop cuts there. And now I've just got those 2 loop cuts that I've created, and I'm just extruding them along the Y-axis, just so that it matches up with our reference image there, those 2 volume buttons. Okay, and as you can see, it's also tightened up the chrome a little bit as well, so that's quite good. Got a nice effect there. Oh dear. Okay, so I've added half the cuts in the wrong place because I was looking at it. That's annoying. Alright, let me just quickly... So this is how you fix a mistake. Okay, so I'm just going to hide that there. Control R. And I think there's a little bug with this screen capture thing. Let's stop and start. Okay, there we go. That's just so you guys can see the buttons that I'm pressing there in the bottom left corner. Sometimes it turns off. Okay, alright, so now I've fixed that. Fixed that little mix up there. Okay, so to make a cut there, what we're going to do is go here and click Face Selector Mode. I'm going to delete that, delete the face. Okay, same for that, and then there's one underneath it as well, like so. So we've now got a cut there. Now, so that you can't see through it like that, like you can't see inside that edge there, switch back to vertice mode, and then select all of the appropriate vertices, and then press F to form a face, just like I am now, like so. like that. Okay, pretty good. Now again, I'm going to be selecting those 4 vertices, and you might have guessed what I'm going to do. Turn up the media increase. So the media increase, of course, tightens the subsurf modifier. It's very essential for what we're doing. Okay, perfect. So we've now got a cut where those little buttons are going to be. Now, to create the actual little buttons, I'm going to add a circle. I might just cut down the number of vertices, maybe 16 or something. That's Blender crashes. I think I saved it pretty early on, so I think it should be good. Yes, I did. Perfect. That is why you save. Okay. So, I'm adding a circle, 16 vertices. I'm also going to turn on this little key display thing again. Man, everything is going wrong in this tutorial. But it's alright. Got it under control. Kind of. Okay, so I'm just lining up my little circle here. Okay, and I didn't select fill faces. So a quick way to fix that, if you just press E and then scale inwards, scale and then press 0, then they all go to the center, and then if you then hit remove doubles, then you've now got just one vertex there. Little tip there for you anyway. Okay. Alright. Now to make sure you get the right size of the button, switch to the side view so you got that reference image there. And position it about there. Duplicate it, of course, and just drop it directly underneath. You'll notice actually that this image here kind of isn't in the same sort of scale as that side image there. So these buttons here that are on the side don't actually match up with the same height of these buttons. So kind of weird. I don't know why that happened. Like perhaps Apple used like a different photo or like a different model. I mean, I don't really know, but it doesn't appear to match up. But anyway, pretty cool. Alright, and if you want to, you can go ahead and also add that little, what's it called? Little switch on the side there. So yeah, I might go ahead and do that. I don't think I actually added it for my final image. Couldn't be bothered. Cool. Hit Control 2. Give it that little subsurf modifier. Give it a little loop cut as well. Alright, pretty cool. Pretty good. Alright. Put that in the right place. And I'm going to remove those faces on that side, so it's a little bit tighter there as well. Set smooth, as usual. Okay. Pretty good, I think. Pretty good. I think it should be there. Okay, there we go. Alright, now that's the other thing we've got to do. We've also got to create another little edge here for this part of the phone. Turning off the median crease for this part. Okay, extruding it along. Now this doesn't need to be exact because we're actually going to be sort of bending this out of shape a little bit more. Okay, like that is pretty good. Set smooth. Yeah. Okay. Same for this edge over here. As you can see, it's pretty exciting what we're doing. Fiddling around with vertices. Whoa. Okay, cool. Alright, so we finally got the rough shape of our iPhone. Now, to move on now to the materials, simply for a change of pace, what I'm going to do is first of all do the this main sort of face of the iPhone. Okay, so bring everything back, move this over, and my little, yeah, and it's crashed as well. I'm going to reload it again. Thank you, Blender. Cool. So, go to the materials panel, add a new material, and I'm going to be dragging, sort of getting the rough sort of color of that. It looks pretty good. I'm going to set the specularity way down, give it a very soft hardness value, because the glass itself, we just want that sort of light, sort of glass sort of sheen effect, like not too strong, but sort of making it so that it just affects a large part of it. So it just got that kind of light sort of sheen effect over everything. Now, the main part of this that we're going to be doing is actually adding that cracked texture effect, okay? So I'm going to the texture panel now. I'm going to select image or movie, and I'm going to be grabbing a texture which I got off cgtextures.com. It's this one here, window broken 50. I'll put a link for that on the site if you want to grab that one. I recommend you would, or else you won't be able to follow the tutorial. Okay, so that we can choose the right part of the image that we want to actually be over the iPhone. We don't want that whole image because you got that kind of ugly sort of white thing happening there. I don't know what that is. So we need to UV unwrap it. So I'm going to split the window now, adding UV image editor, bring in that image that we just selected, that broken window there. I'm now going to hit U and then select project from view. So that's a really, really quick way just to UV unwrap it. It's great if you've got, a fairly flat object like this one. I'm going to get a drink because I'm standing like Tom Waits. Oh, excuse me. Much better. Okay, so you've got that in around the right size area. So I'm now going to go down here to the mapping, set it to UV unwrap. Now, if you've ever seen sort of a cracked glass window, you'll notice that the cracks themselves actually pick up a lot more light than it appears. Like the photos of cracked glass, you can see that the cracked areas are really, really bright. Now, I couldn't really find a better way to emulate that in Blender other than to just select emit. So basically the texture is now going to be affecting the emit value, and generally I'm against using emit values because it's really faking it, and it can come back to haunt you if you're doing a whole scene and you've got weird things emitting. But in this particular scenario, I think it works, so that's why I'm using emit. I'm also going to turn up the contrast just so that we've got a more cleaner cut sort of texture, because the original texture's got some weird sort of stuff in the background. It's a bit weird. So turning up the contrast and set it to UV. That's pretty good. Alright, let's just position the camera here like so. I did that by hitting Control Alt 0 key, by the way, number pad 0 key. Alright, let's just have a look at how it looks now. Okay, so got the crack exactly where we want it to be. Alright, now for the tricky bit. What we want is for this part, okay, that whole area there, we want that to be transparent, okay? So, we want to keep the original cracked texture, but we want that area around there to be solid black, but this middle part here to be transparent. So I'm going to add a new texture like that, and you can see that it's duplicated its original texture right there, so that's good. And I'm going to call this transparent. I'm going to call this black. Okay, now I'm going to keep everything the same, so this is going to be the same here, except I'm going to turn the transparency of the alpha all the way down to 0. That's another thing, kind of weird. You notice there's no Z or ray trace buttons there. I'm using like a new SVN version of Blender, and I don't know why, but it's now all the way up here in render pipeline options. It's kind of confusing, and it's a little bit annoying because you kind of wonder like, why is it up there now instead of down here where it used to be? But I'm assuming there's a good reason for it. I'm not going to diss the choice of putting it there, but if you're using a new SVN version of Blender, you're wondering where that Z and ray trace buttons are. It's up here in the render pipeline options. Okay, so anyway, go ahead, turn on Z transparency. Now for the texture, you'll need to make it its own texture now, because what we're going to do is go here to the influence, and we're going to check alpha, and we're also going to turn on RGB to intensity so that it uses the right alpha values. Okay, let's just see. Okay, so if you have a look at the preview window now, you can see that it's the cracks will only be showing, but everything else won't. So if I just make the background like what Blender used to be, that ugly default blue color. Yeah, there we go. Bring that back. Alright, so something's... Oh yeah, I have to click assign on that texture there once I've selected those vertices, and we should see that it's now affecting it like that. Now, there is a little bit of a problem. You can see you've got this weird wavy effect there. The reason for that is if I just change this color here just to purple, you can see what I mean. You need to tighten up this top row of vertices here. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Select this edge row here. Okay, pretty good. And I'm going to turn the median crease all the way up. And then do the same for the bottom. Okay, and then, of course, set it back to black. Alright, render. And there you go. So now we've got the transparent part of the iPhone. So now what we can do is add a plane, like so, and position it, using the reference image again, the shape of where the screen needs to be. Okay, so making sure that's behind that black part there. I'm going to add a new material. Okay, and turn off specularity. I'm going to add a texture. Image. Alright, so this is a texture here that I created by using this image that I pulled off of Google Images and this image here of a broken screen, and then I combined them both in Photoshop to create that kind of weird, kind of cracked, inky blot look effect, making it look like it's you know, someone's really messed with the screen. So that's good. Actually, on that note, I remember when I had an office desk job and I played a prank on my friend. Like, I set the wallpaper for his computer to yeah, whatever that was. Where is it? Yeah, that kind of wallpaper there for his wallpaper. And he's pretty computer illiterate, and it puzzled him for a good 10-15 minutes. He was restarting the computer, doing everything, and he thought he'd actually broken his screen. It was pretty funny, actually. Alright, cool. So we've set that texture to go. Now we need to go down here to the emit value, set that to 1. And now if we render that, then there we go. We've now got the you know, the screen where it needs to be, and there's a little bit of transparency around the outside. So to fix that, what I'm going to do, actually I might create a loop cut. Yeah, right there. It's probably a good idea. And select all those vertices there, and I'm just going to give it, assign that, so you don't get that whole, yeah, need to fix that, of course. Median crease needs to be set to 1. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is add a material to the button down here, because we don't want the crack to actually be over the top of that button, because the actual button itself is a different sort of material to the glass on the outside. So what I'm going to do is add another material here, and I'm going to call this black circle. I'm going to turn the, let's see what the diffuse, get the exact color from that black there, and just paste it there. That's a quick way of copying colors, by the way. Get the hex code. I'll turn the specularity down. I might turn the mirror on a little bit, just because it's a little bit more shiny than everything else. Okay, that's pretty good. And I'm going to select that row of vertices there as well, and hit assign. I'm now going to select these vertices and then deselect the face in the middle, and what I'm going to do now is add another material, and this one is going to be called white circle. Okay, and let's hit assign for that. I'll turn specularity down a bit, and just to make sure that that is got the right material, hit assign for that middle face there as well. So now if I go back to vertex mode, actually no. Yeah, go to edge select mode, I should say, sorry. And I'm going to increase the crease, yeah, for those vertices, and then for those ones there as well. And you can see that just sort of tightens that little circle in the middle there. And you can make that circle a little bit duller, because I find it's just a little bit too up front, the default material. Okay, so now, if that is all correct, if we hit render now, and I think, Oh yeah, it's reflecting. The reason it's slightly blue color is it's reflecting the background. So if we turn that off, then we should see. Yeah, there you go. So that's pretty good. All right. So now what we're going to do is start messing up the phone. So we want to make it look as though the phone has been thrown on the ground. Well, not thrown, dropped, whatever. Same thing, I suppose. Okay, so what I'm going to do is start twisting around this this chrome outside, I don't know what you call it, antenna. Okay, I'm going to add a loop cut here. Just sort of move that there. And also these vertices. Whoa. Oh, I should switch back to vertice mode. Grab those vertices, bend them up a little bit. I mean, there's no really sort of exact science to it. It's just a matter of, just trying to make it look real. I'm sure iPhones don't actually behave this way once they've been thrown on the ground, but, you can play around a bit. Artistic license, as it's called. Okay, so that's cool. By the way, if you want to select just one of those shapes, it's Control L. That's the hotkey, like that. Okay, the rest of that looks pretty good, I reckon. I might just bend that out a little bit further. Same with that, and same with that as well. Maybe that's a bit too far. Anyway, you can play around with it. Okay, but that's pretty good. What we need to do is also add some sort of filling behind the phone. So, kind of like, what you'd expect to see, like a few little chipboards or main boards, whatever. I mean, really all I did was just add a cube, flattened it like that, positioned it about there, like so. You don't want to make sure that it's not over the top of... It's not overlapping through that button. Like you can see that, if you go too far, that it digs into that button there. So make sure you don't have that problem. Extrude that up a bit. Scale it along the x-axis like so. I'm now going to duplicate that. And I'm going to give this one a material of kind of a more darker material like that. I'm going to duplicate it again. And this one I'm going to give a green material. So just to sort of fake the look of, a chipboard or whatever that could be in there. And then I'm going to grab that material there again. We'll call this one silver. Another silver. Silver. Okay, and we'll turn down the specularity. But yeah, I mean, just fake it as best you can. It's not really that important. Oh, actually, that one there does actually need to be a black color. So let's just grab that material. Let's make this one silver. The reason we need to make this one here, the actual black material, is that it's going to be transparent. So that's the one that's going to be front on. So that's what the camera's going to see. So it needs to look black, so because it's inside the phone, obviously. So yeah, something. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, awesome. Alright, so there's a couple of other things we need to change as well. They're not all that important. In fact, I think for my final render I might have even forgot this. But the earpiece inside there needs to be sort of like a kind of a dull, sort of this color, like a type of goldy type color. Make sure you hit a sign like that. And, you can see we've got... That's part of the cube is showing through as well. Make sure it doesn't overlap. And for the camera as well, I'm going to add another material for that. And I'm going to give this sort of a slightly blue color. Like so. That's pretty good. I think that median crease there is a little bit too extreme for it. That's okay. It's alright. You can fix that up if you like, but it's alright for what we're doing, I think. Okay. Alright, so now we can get on to some more fun stuff. What we're going to be doing is adding a particle system, okay? So what we want to make, what we want to fake, I should say, is glass shards. So looking like, when the phone hit the ground, there was some light sort of tiny shards that flew everywhere. So the best way to do that, go ahead and add a UV sphere. Delete these vertices there, like so. about there. That's pretty good. So this is going to be the emitter for the particles, okay? Because the phone is going to be thrown on sort of that corner there. So that's where the particles are going to be fired from. Now, it's important you get the position of where the particles are coming from correctly, because when we add motion blur, we want to make it look like it came from the point at which it, where there was an impact. So that's why I'm positioning it there. So we're going to go ahead and add a particle system now. I'm going to set the end amount of the particles to 30 and the start amount to 10. Now, you'll need to play around with the amount to get it looking, as best as you can. But the start and the end amount, it's important to, get it right. Because you want to make it look like there was a sudden impact, but then you don't want to make it look like they're all too uniform. You know what I mean? Like, if you make them all explode at the same time, it's very obvious. It's probably best I just show you. Okay, so I'm turning off gravity. Okay. And there we've got the particles. I'm going to increase the normal amount to 4, so it's a little bit faster. And I'm also going to increase the randomize and make the faces come from random faces, like so. Okay, so you can see that, as they stream outwards like that, it gives them a little bit more depth. Like there's some that are over here, and then there's some that have just been emitted over there. If you make them all explode from, say, particle 10, then there's not much depth to it. You know what I mean? Like it's quite clearly a big sphere that's exploded. So that's why it's sometimes best to give it, to fake it a little bit by giving them weird sort of start and end times. But anyway, get away with that. Cool. All right. Now, to make the actual glass shards, because if you were to render this right now, you'd probably get this ugly looking weird star cloud magic thing happening. So what we want to do is we're going to move to another layer now. And we're just going to be modeling some glass shards. So I'm just going to add a cube here. I'm just going to flatten these like that. It's pretty good. And there's no, exact science to it. Just sort of try and get as best as you can some different looking glass shards. Now you can create as many variations of these as you like, because as I'm going to show you, we're going to be making a group out of these objects and then using that group to form what's going to be rendered for the particles. I'll just show you. Okay. Okay, so that's pretty good. I mean, like I said, you can go overboard if you like, but that'll do for me. I'm going to hit Control G, and you can see they've all become little green shapes now. That means that they've all been formed into a group, as you can see here. We'll call this Shards, just to make it more obvious. We're going to go back to the phone. Where did we put it? Oh, here we go. Yeah, we've got these in weird layers. Alright, let's move these all to layer 1. Not really sure what's going on. Yeah, some previous saves or something. Okay. Alright, so go to the particle settings, go down to render, and then underneath render, change it from halo to group, and then select shards, or whatever it's called by default. Now you can see that there have, they've all been changed to the shards, but they're all quite uniform shaped, like, as it's quite obvious that they've been sort of duplicated. So to rotate them a little bit, give them a little bit more randomization, we're just going to increase that rotation amount there. Also going to turn on dynamic so that the force actually affects their rotation as well. The other thing you can do is also underneath physics, increase randomized size all the way to 1, and that means that they all have different randomized sizes, basically. Yeah, pretty easy to understand that one. Okay, so that should be pretty good. If you want to, you can give these shards a material. I think I didn't actually give mine a material. Like, if you make them transparent, you can't see them. So, it's okay to leave them as white, because we're going to be putting motion blur and a whole bunch of other stuff over it, so it's not that important. Okay, so what we're going to do now is rotate the iPhone. Okay, and deselect the particles. And you can see I'm holding down control whilst I rotate, and the reason for that is that if I was wanted to come back to this and then remodel something, it's very hard to model on a slope. So just as a quick tip, and something I've gotten into the habit of doing, is to always rotate on 5-degree increments, because if I want to, I can come back, rotate it to its upright position the way it was before, change something, and then I can easily just rotate it back again. So yeah, just a quick tip, you know, if you don't want to have that problem where you're trying to, you know, move things around on a, you know, a slope like that, yeah, just rotate on 5-degree increments. Okay, all right. Let's get into the scene, okay? So we're going to be adding a plane. Putting that there, so that the edge of the phone is touching it, like so. I'm also just going to rotate the phone a little bit like this as well. Just so it's a little bit more random as well. Again, on 5-degree increments. Alright, now, for the floor... I'm going to give it a sort of a shiny reflection material. Okay, just moving the camera around just till you get it so it looks right. I also need to also need to move these particles now that I've moved the phone a little bit as well. Just get that lined up. Okay, pretty good. Alright, so for the ground, I'm going to give this a reflection mirror, like so. And I'm also going to give it a glossy amount as well, like a point, I don't know, 0.9, something like that. That'll just give it slightly soft reflections, and then 50 samples as well. Also going to make sure that the background is black. Okay. Now for the lighting, okay, very important, the lighting. The main light source is going to be a spot lamp, so go ahead and convert the default lamp into a spot lamp, like so. And position it sort of in front of the iPhone, because you can see the iPhone's tilted on an angle now, so the spot lamp has to be, you know, has to affect the front part of the iPhone, so make sure it's like that. Pretty good. We're going to turn the energy for the spot lamp all the way up to 5, which is pretty extreme, but it's necessary for this. Going to turn the distance down a little bit to about there. It's pretty good. Turn on ray shadows. Set the soft size to 2 and the samples to 6. So that'll give you sort of softer, shadowy look to it. And I'm also turning up the blend amount. That'll just sort of blend the edges of the spot lamp so it's not really sudden. You can see, you know, where the spot lamp starts and ends. So if we were to render this now, let's just have a look how it looks. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. It's not bad. You can see here we've got the actual particles. That little ball is actually showing up as in the render as well, which is kind of annoying. So the quickest way to go and fix that is to go here in the render settings and turn off the emitter, which is pretty good. Okay, so it's looking okay. I'm going to add some side lamps now as well. So duplicate that spot lamp. I'm going to position it about here. And I'm going to change it to area lamp, okay? Now to set the area shape, I'm going to set that to 10, so quite big. Turn the distance down a little bit and move it away, like so. Now I'm going to create 2 of these, so one there and then one on the other side. I'm going to turn the energy value down to a 0.1. So we just want it to be really subtle, and this is just so that if you see in the original render here, that whole side, that whole chrome band there is completely black. So adding some area lamps fixes that problem. So just lightly, just gives it a little bit of lighting from the sides. Okay. Alright, now one thing I want to do is I don't want these area lamps here to actually affect the ground. So what I'm going to do is move these to layer 3. It's on layer 2. Ah, we've got the screen. Okay. Alright, so move these to layer 3, like so. And also we're going to move... Yep, none of that, none of that. Not the screen. Oh, the screen wasn't rotated either. We're going to move the phone to layer 3 as well. So now we've got just these area lamps and just the phone on layer 3. So I can go here in the lamp settings and check this layer only. And if I were to just render this now, you can see the effect that just those area lamps have. So it just provides a little bit of lighting on the sides, and I might just turn them down slightly as well because I think they're a little bit too bright personally. 0.05. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Alright, now one thing, yeah, I forgot to rotate the screen as well. So as you can see, now that I did it on 5-degree increments, it's very, very easy for me to fix that problem. Just like this. Now this should... There we go, okay. So iPhone is looking pretty good so far. Alright, I think the material for that button there, just down at the bottom there, I might turn off mirror just to see how it looks, because I think it was looking a little bit weird. Yeah, it's still looking weird. I mean, we suppose we can fiddle with that a little bit more if you wanted to, but yeah. Okay, so the final thing that we're going to do, we can get into the compositing now. So one thing I want to do is I want to give this screen a nice glow effect. Now currently everything is going to be rendering, you know, on the same render layer. So if I wanted to add a glow effect, I'd have to try and, you know, dampen the colors a little bit so that, dampen the brightness and contrast so it could only affect that, but it wouldn't really look perfect. So the best way to really go about making an object glow in this scenario is to take the glowing object, in this case this little screen here, and move it to its separate layer, which is layer 2, which is on now. Okay, so I'm moving it, yeah, layer 2. Then go here, underneath the render settings in layer, click the plus arrow, the plus button. Okay, this is giving us a new render layer. I'm naming it screen, and I'm going to call this scene. Okay, just so we know the difference between the two. And now for screen, I'm just going to check here on the layer settings. I'm just going to click layer 2. And the scene is going to be rendering everything else. In fact, if I wanted to, I could unselect that. But I really just want this screen to be overlaying on the top of it. So I'm actually going to render it on both render layers. You'll see what I'm going to do. It's alright. Okay, cool. Alright, one final thing we need to do before we re-render it is I also want to give it some depth of field to our scene. So with our camera selected here, you go here to the depth of field panel. You can see I've already done this because this was a previous save. But you want to select the object which you want to be in focus. In this case, it's called plane, down there in the little left-hand corner. That's the name of the object. So with your camera selected, go to there to depth of field, and then just type in, yeah, plane. There you go. I also want to add some motion blur. Okay, so this is very important. Go back to the render settings, and with the scene layer selected, make sure that you have vector checked. Okay, so if everything is now in order, go ahead and hit render. Okay, cool. So now that it's finished rendering, we can jump over now to the compositor, like so. Now, so first thing I want to do is I want to apply some, let's say, some depth of field. Okay, so actually no, sorry, we want to add some motion blur, and then we'll put depth of field over the top. So for motion blur, go down here to vector blur, add a vector blur node like this, and I'm going to connect the yellow with the yellow, this Z to the Z, and the blue to the blue. Very hard, as you can see. Okay, and as you can see, those little glass shards now have a little bit of motion blur, which is exactly what we want. You can turn that up as much or as little as you want. And also you can see, not sure if you can actually, if we zoom in, the it has like, it's kind of jaggedy, the motion blur. The reason for that is there's not enough samples. So to fix that, just increase the samples to 60, and you'll see it's a little bit smoother now. So just a little tip there for you. Next thing I'm going to add is the defocus node. So this is going to add a little bit of depth of field to our scene. Okay, that's not what we want. Make sure that you check use Z buffer and set the f-stop to around, yeah, let's turn off preview as well. 20, yeah, 20 might be a bit much. Might go 30. I don't want it to be too much because I want the motion blur to have most of the effect. So that's fine. Also, for the motion blur, make sure you turn on curved. Curved, make sure that there's equal amounts of motion blur before the object and after it. Yeah, a little bit technical, but there you go. It's more physically accurate that way. Cool. Alright, so next thing I want to do now is to add the glow to our iPhone screen. Okay, so I'm going to go here, add input render layer, and I'm going to change it from scene to screen. And you can see that we now have a render layer specifically for our screen there. So what we can do is go ahead and add a blur node. This is the fun part. Let's go here. So I'm adding a blur node, setting it to fast Gaussian blur, and I'm setting the X and Y to 10. Now, as well as that sort of light glow around each of those icons there, I also want to give it sort of an overall glow. Okay, so I'm duplicating that blur node, and I'm going to set the X and Y to 100. So that's a little bit more extreme. I'm going to add a mix node now so that I can mix both of those blur nodes together. Okay, you can see that effect that has. I'm now going to duplicate that add mode and add it to both of those like so. And there you go. You can see you have a glow over the screen now. It really sort of pops the image out a bit more, makes it look a little bit more alive. And if you want to turn down that big glow, because I think it's a little bit too much, you can just turn down that add value there. You might want to turn down that value for the FAC as well if it's a little bit too much. But yeah, you don't want to make it too extreme, but I think that's it's looking pretty good. What I'm going to do now is add a color balance node. And I'm just going to give it a slight bluish looking color. Like so, just to make it, you know, look a little bit more high-tech. Blue is the color for technology, so might as well add it. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. I mean, if you want to, you can also add a little bit of a sharpen node just to make it a little bit more tighter. Just sort of make those textures pop out a little bit more than they already were. But there you go, that's basically it. That's how you smash an iPhone in Blender. So hopefully you guys can use this tutorial to your advantage, make something cool, smash some various objects on the ground, virtually, of course. And as usual, I'm interested in seeing what you guys create, so by all means leave a comment with whatever you make from this tutorial. And once again, thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.